You like that?
I do.
Are we on? Yeah, we're good. Before I get started, in yesterday's paper, kind of a coincidence, Saturday's St. Pete or Tampa Bay Times. Okay. This was in there. This is about Organ Donation Awareness Month. And if you still have a chance to get your hands on this, if you haven't thrown it in the garbage where you can't reach it, go dig this out and read this story about this lady whose son died. And his organs were transplanted. And just so happens that the doctor that they quote in there about transplant procedures is the guy that did my transplant back in 2004. So out of the blue, after all this time, there he pops up in the paper yesterday to help me get started on my testimony. Yeah, okay, we'll take that. So thanks for letting me share this experience with you. I like to tell this story. This is how I learned to speak in public. I'd never done it before, and I don't have any trouble with it now. It doesn't scare me like you would think it would. Having God write your material helps. My wife Becky and I are new members here. We followed Sue Glass down here finally. Took us a while, but we did, and we're glad we're here. You're very welcoming, accepting, gracious people. Very nice. So I'm going to get going with this. This story starts around 1970, 1971. When I was in high school, I contracted hepatitis C. It was known as non-A, non-B back then because they didn't know what it was. They just knew it wasn't A or B, that's all they knew about it, and it was a liver virus. And they had not quite figured it out, so there are no symptoms. It develops very slowly, and I was unaware I had it until I woke up itching in the middle of the night in the fall of 2001. By that time, the damage is done with this. It's a discreet, dirty player, is how one doctor described it to me. So off to the doctor I go, and he had no trouble telling me what he thought it was. It had become pretty common by 2001. They had well diagnosed it, and it was out there, and everybody knew about it. Blood work confirmed high bilirubin content and presence of the virus. So there wasn't any doubt. 2 rounds of treatment, which consist of 48 weeks of injections and pills to kill the virus. My liver and I were almost dead. The virus was fine. So we went over to LifeLink in Tampa on 4/28/2003, my son's 15th birthday, and I was told at that time I'd need a liver transplant to survive. I was a little upset, to put it mildly, as you might imagine. I came home, looked in the mirror, and knew I could not possibly call the shots on this, micromanage it, and have it come out right. It's too much. I gave the whole thing over to God right then and there. I looked in the mirror, I told him, however you want this to come out is fine with me. I'm along for the ride now, you're the boss. Just try to take it easy on my family is all. The only thing I'm going to ask is that you make it as easy as possible on them. I'm stepping aside, I'm getting out of the way because I can't do this. This is way over my head. So I proceeded to get sicker and sicker until there wasn't much left of me. I was put on the waiting list in August of 2003. I could reach around my leg there, just above my knee, and overlap my thumbs like that. That's how skinny I was. And I weighed 185 when I came out of high school. I'd never been that skinny. And don't envy skinny people because it hurts being that skinny. You can't sit on anything. It's miserable. So by March, I was in Tampa General, too sick to go home. Then on April 9th, the Good Friday before Easter, the transplant doctor and resident Tim, the transplant doctor that was in that paper, Victor Bowers, he's still there doing the good work that he does. And good old resident Tim, the kid that was learning how to do this, they came in and asked how I was. I lied and I said, I'm okay. They knew better. And the doctor, he says something, he says, cheer up, Easter's coming and holidays are good for business. And I go, man, what? How do you figure? Well, he says, holidays equals lots of traffic on the roads equals lots of transplants. So keep that in mind. People get killed on the roads a lot during the holiday season. That was his look at it was that's good for business. I said, okay, like I say, transplant doctors are a different breed. This guy could be out doing endoscopies or general surgery, making money and playing golf. He's doing this transplant work where he has to be on call whenever these things come available, and he's still doing it. This guy's something else. These people are different. Thank God for them. So it's Easter Sunday now, April 11th, 2014, about 9 p.m. The weekend's gone by, no news about a transplant, and I'm a little worried. I'm starting to think I haven't got much left in the tank. I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired, and man, you don't know sick until you know liver disease sick. I'm sure there are other things that are equally bad, but this is the one I know about. Man, it's gruesome. I played some football in high school. Sometimes you're getting whipped out there. There's always a day when there's a guy bigger and stronger than you across from you. And you can't quit. You just have to dig in and get mean. You got to come up with something because you can't walk off the field. I was thinking it was time to do that. This didn't happen this weekend, so I felt like I was heading into the unknown and bad days are ahead. And guess what? 11 p.m. Easter Sunday night, 2004. Here comes resident Tim. Man, he was something, that guy. Just a kid. It says, it looks like we have a donor. If it passes an inspection when it gets here, the surgery is set for 6 a.m. tomorrow morning. They have to physically have it in their hands to give the final okay, but he said this is looking good on paper, and we think it's going to be a go, so call Becky. So I called Becky. She makes it from Crystal Beach to Tampa General in 30 minutes. That's a pretty good time, especially in a van. It wasn't exactly a sports car. She stuck with me through this whole thing, 12 to 14 hours a day for right around 30 days. I couldn't have done it without her. I'm laying there, I'm sick. I'm going, God, whatever. You want me to die? Good. I'm fine with that. You want me to get through this? That's fine too. She had to put up with the worst part of it. I was helpless. I had given it over to him. That's tough right there. That's commitment. You talk about better or worse. That's what this means. So we got to talking, and we were thinking about the donor and family. And somewhere in Florida, somebody's having a bad day. A family has lost their 22-year-old son. On Easter Sunday. That's all I know about him. All I'm allowed to do is write a letter and leave it in the system where they can access it if they want to, but I never heard from them. I walk around with his liver right there every day, and it's 36 years old now. That God would set in motion the events that result in this outcome for me is humbling and conflicting, to say the least. That's it for the medical. I'm not going to put you through any more of that. No, this is why you bought your ticket. This is the good stuff. I woke up from the surgery feeling better as soon as I opened my eyes. There's nothing like having a functioning liver to improve your outlook on life. Mentally was a different story. The chemical imbalances, shock from the surgery, loads of medications make for a pretty shaky state of mind. I can remember being very panicked and questioning God over and over if I was going to be okay. It seemed like I was on my back with just a tremendous weight and confusion bearing down on me, and I was helpless. I couldn't do it. I was getting mashed. I didn't know how to get out of this mess. This is a dark, dark place. And I hear this voice. The other testimonies, a couple of them mentioned a voice coming to them. Well, I don't know if it's me, because I'm so whacked. I don't know what's going on. I don't know if it's me talking to myself or if it's God. The voice says, that's it, no more questions. It's time to trust. Instantly, the weight and confusion are obliterated, is the best way I can put it. They're gone. And I'm heading for this bright light at incredible speed. Like I said, I was in high school in the late 60s, early 70s. I had access to some really fast cars when I was a kid. SS 396 Chevelle, AAR Cuda, Mustang, Mach 1, 440 GTX. All of those were in the neighborhood. Man, we had some fun with those cars. Every one of these cars could pin you in their seat when they take off. And after a few seconds with some effort, you could lean forward. Not so this ride. This was different. This can only be compared to riding on a rifle bullet. It starts out fast, gets faster and faster, yet it seems like it lasts about 5 seconds, and just when you think you can't take it anymore, just like that, it's over. I'm in a warm, totally relaxed and comfortable place. Overwhelming peace. No stress. It's blissful. It's really nice. This is how I would think a baby feels in its mother's arms. So I'm hearing this voice again. This time I know it's God talking to me. He said, see, it wasn't that hard to get here, was it? I say him, but I never saw him, so I don't know, but he was there just as sure as that piano sitting right there and that flag's on the wall. He's there. There's no doubt he's there. Actually, I'm pointing the wrong way. He was 2 steps over this way and to my left. He was right about where that thing is. I could kind of, I knew he was there, but I didn't even bother to try to look over and see. It was quite an experience. His presence, I wanted to talk about that a second. His presence is timeless and eternal. There's never been anything before him. There's nothing after him. He's the Alpha and the Omega. He just is. And this is a very, well, of course it was a new experience, but I mean, it's very unique to be in the presence of something like that. And he just is. And IS never had a stronger meaning to me than his presence. He just is. I'm going to digress a little bit here for a minute. I remember at my uncle's funeral, he was an archmason. There was a man doing the service who referred to God as a supreme architect. I always thought that was an appropriate description. This is what I go back to whenever I think about this. I had a conversation with God, regular guy me. He allowed me to be in his presence. And he's very accepting, to put it mildly. If he did that for me, you people don't have anything to worry about. This is an all-forgiving, all-accepting, timeless, magnificent creation this God is. He's something, man. It's hard for me to put it into words. But this is what I go back to when I think about this. I had a conversation, God, regular guy, me. I no longer have the luxury of doubt. You might go through your life and wonder sometimes. I can't do that anymore. I know. People say, do you believe in God now? I say, I got one better for you. I know him. I talk to him. You ought to see the looks you get. I don't care. Believe in him? You bet I do. I talked to him one time. So you want to hear about it? And most people do. And then some people, okay, if you want to, I'll be here. I'm no shining example of how to lead a Christian life even today. Just the opposite in my younger days. And I still fail regularly. I'm working on it. Even though this experience that I was that close to him, I'm still human. I'm still back out there in the same world you are, man, and it beats you up sometimes. So I come and go. But, man, I'm working on it, like I said. And I know he's an accepting, forgiving God, and I'll take that. But he was there with me about 2 steps to my left and behind me just out of view. Now we're back on the storyline here. I didn't see but sensed that he swept his arm like this, and all of creation came into view in front of us. I like those shows on TV, like How the Universe Works. Neutron stars, red giants, blue dwarfs, black holes, gamma rays, galaxies measured in light years. All that stuff fascinates me because that's his creation, and I get to look at it. And these scientists are getting pretty good at understanding what they're looking at, but every time they figure something out, there's way more pieces to the puzzle that they can't figure out. And I think God's just toying with them. He allows us to catch up, but we're never going to figure it all out. That's all on display. So, excuse me. I try to apologize about the sinful things I've done in my past. He said it wasn't necessary. He made me. He was right there with me the whole time I was doing these things and understood why I made these bad decisions. He forgave me everything. I didn't even have to go into detail about every little thing. He just wiped the slate clean. He said, this is all forgiven. Put it behind you. And this is a strange part here. We did all this without speaking a word. A thought would come to me like, why did my friend from high school, Jim Alexander, drown when he was 20 years old? Kid could swim like a fish. This kid was special. He was something. He was different. I think maybe God took him because Jim had already figured out in 20 years how to live his life and was ready for what comes next. But this really made me wonder about how God works at the time. I didn't know what to think about this. I couldn't wrap my head around how a kid like that could drown. It just blew me away. So, everybody runs into things like that in their life. You come on a situation in your life, man, and this is the only way you're going to get through it with God, because it's tough. And I asked him about some of the horrible things that happened throughout history, and he explained all to me. Mainly that we have free will, and how even the horrible things that we do can fit his plan. And everything made sense. Every time a thought came to my mind, I had the answer just as soon as I thought of it. And it made perfect sense, just like a piece fitting in a puzzle. He allowed me to be in his presence for what seemed like a few minutes, and then I was waking up back in the hospital. I came back to this world. I couldn't remember a single thing he explained to me. It's like when you're with him, you can comprehend everything he tells you and it makes sense. But when you're back here, you're human again and you can't grasp the magnitude of his works or the complexity. We are not able to see past our little piece of the plan. It's like we have blinders on, like a mule pulling a plow in a straight line. That's all, that's all it cares about. Thank you. Very thoughtful. Thank you. Our vision is limited. He creates on a scale and complexity that is simply beyond us. This I now know without doubt. When I see him again, and when you see him, all will be explained. Everything that you've wondered about that doesn't make sense to you, that's just killing you, he'll explain it to you. He'll show you how it fits, and you'll understand it, and it'll make sense. I work at a local children's hospital, and I've seen plenty that seems impossible to justify, but this experience with the Creator has made my life easier now. I know not to get too upset about things I can't understand. For example, why does he keep some of us when we see him and send others back? We are human, and this is one of the things that are beyond our understanding. Sometimes, even a prayer not answered is for the best, because we can't see what he sees. The two words to take out of this are faith and acceptance. People have a tendency to demand explanations for everything. Some things are simply out of our field of vision. This kid dying on Easter Sunday, 22 years old, God can make something good out of that. I hope his parents have God in their life to help them get over that, because I can't imagine a burden like that without God. He can make something good out of that, but there's two different points of view there. Theirs is tragic, mine is life-saving, one event. That's what I mean about limited field of vision. He sees it all. You got to trust him. We're going to ride around on this sun around the sun on this rock for exactly as long as we are predestined to. Not a single minute more or less. We are to do the best we can with this time, so step up and do good when you get a chance. We're human and limited on our ability to affect and control unless we have him in our life. Then we can do more than we could without him. Maybe unlimited things, you never know. The supreme architect is not limited. So remember, he knows you. He hears you when you pray. Make him aware through prayer and then accept. And I'm going to wrap this up with Ephesians. Excuse me. These words blow my mind every time I read them. For he chose us before the creation of the world to be holy and blameless in his sight. With all wisdom and understanding, he made known to us the mystery of his will according to his good pleasure, which he purposed in Christ. In him we were also chosen, having been predestined according to the plan of him who works out everything in conformity with the purpose of his will. So relax. He's got it. He's there. Don't fight it. Sometimes you got to ride along, and that's the way you get over things that hurt you. Know this and use this the rest of your life. If you hold up your end of the log, he's on the other end, and you're going to be okay. So take this out there in the world, and I hope it helps you, because it sure helped me. And he's there waiting on you. He's infinitely patient and infinitely forgiving, and you can't do much better than that. Thank you for allowing me to talk.